Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm one of the co-founders of OpsKings. We have implemented about 1,900 features in our clients' businesses over the last year. And we've learned a thing or two about change management, which is, as I would summarize it, making sure that people actually use the thing that you create or implement and adopt the change that you want to make. So if you're adding automations to your business or changing systems, here are some things that we've learned that you're welcome to steal. So we're going to start with 5 reasons why people don't just readily adopt things that they are presented with, that we have found, and then what we have found works to do about them, right? So first thing is rules. So people are, if you're building a new system, presumably you're doing it because there's problems with what you were doing before. So for example, we have a client, they send SMS messages in the political space, and we built this new system, and one of their team members said, oh, I never had to enter all these things before in the old system. And the owner was like, yeah, like, because it was wrong. Like we missed these things, and now we're forcing you to enter them. And so she was resistant to, this team member was resistant to the change because she used to have an easier job and used to have more flexibility in how she did things. And so to get over this, if you have, like, if you want to make this easy for yourself, what we would normally start with is a company brain, or let's call it a business process map. And so if you start with creating a business process map, you're not actually restricting the process at all. You're just creating a visualization of what you believe the process is. And so the advantage of doing a business process map before you actually implement a change is to get everybody on board, to get everybody like, yes, we all agree that this is the thing that we are all going to do together. So if you're having a resistance with like, whatever, this is now more restrictive. Start with this. Everybody agrees, yes, this is cool. So business process map. The way that we normally do this is we interview the key team members, like department heads. We would ask them questions like, hey, like, what is the first thing that happens? Cool. What's the next thing that happens? Do these two things, could they happen in parallel? We would look at not just traditionally how the process is done, but look at all the boundary cases as well. One of our team members likes to ask the question when he's doing this process with clients. He says, like, what are some possible edge cases that I should be accounting for or that could happen? Because one of the challenges with a business process map is people tell you the process as it mostly happens, but they forget to tell you about all the things that would be the exceptions. And the thing is, like, those exceptions are the cases where people normally feel restricted the most. So we would normally do this over 3 to 5 Zoom calls, and so kind of budget that amount of time if you're doing this with your team as well. So that's number 1 reason. If you're finding people are overly restricted, do the business process map. First, we do this before building anything. The second reason is that people, it's just a new tool, right? So you could create like the perfect dashboard, the perfect new automation, the perfect whatever. It could be the easiest thing to use in the world, and people just will not be in the habit of using it, right? There are people in the world who don't know how to use Google Docs. There are people who don't know how to use Apple Pay, or like they don't know how to use Webflow or whatever it is, despite some of these mainstream tools having like millions and millions of dollars invested in usability. They're just new, right? So if you imagine like a typical, like a learning curve, you think your new system is like this, like it's really, really, really hard, and we built a new system that's really, really, really easy, and you think it's just a straight slope down like this, where people go, oh, it's this new thing, it looks amazing, I'm gonna use it right away. They're just not used to it, right? So in reality, there's actually like this big hump where there's a learning curve. Like to use a new thing, they have to get over the hump. The way that we have found works really well to get people over the hump is you have a cutoff date. All right, date. You say after Monday, the 1st of whatever the month, you will no longer use old tool. The old tool's locked. There's no data going into it. everything is in the new tool. Now you can have a backup and you can insert data automatically and log things in both places, but have a date where you're no longer allowed to use the old tool, you got to use the new tool. For this to happen successfully, we do working sessions. So we kind of like have one of our team members like be on Zoom and watching people use things and watching people work. And one of the reasons for that is if there's any like little question about something, you want that transition period to be as easy as possible and for people to get very, very fast access to questions. Or sometimes what can really help with this habit building process is having like even like the words be very like the same as what they're used to. Or even having some kind of like transition system where even if it's not perfect, you're sort of, or even if it's not the end goal, you're getting people towards the goal in a certain way. So it's got a temporary system you build. But having a strict cutoff date is super, super helpful. So that is thing number 2 that you can do. The third thing, the third reason why change management is hard is because if you ask somebody what the process is, or you ask somebody for their ideas or what they would want, you're going to get the idea that they imagine in their head, and you're going to have a separate idea in your head about what the optimal case would look like. And those two things are not going to be aligned. So if nobody can read minds instead of our theory on this. The principle that we use, or like the kind of catchphrase that we use internally, is a prototype is worth 1,000 meetings. So I'll just write that down. Prototype worth 1,000 meetings. And if you can read my handwriting, you deserve an award. This is the phrase, the way that we implement this for ourselves, and this is a really, really common technique in the software development world, is you do development in stages. So we would do rather than a massive 6-month project or 3-month project where we say, okay, we're gonna build this amazing design document, and this design document is gonna be perfect, and then in 3 months you're gonna get a fully complete end goal system. We would instead realize that, hey, our idea of what this could be like, or our idea of what you said your process is different than what you think your process is. So what we do is we develop things in sprints. So we start with a business process map. We build out an Airtable base or an interface for your team to manage things and do their job that is pretty loose, and we slowly get more and more and more specific, and we slowly build more pieces on the puzzle after your team has a chance to give feedback. So if you're looking for a much easier way to implement a system, it's in stages. Ideally, you want those stages to be as tight as possible. We do a 2-week phase where we're building stuff, and then a 1-week phase of watching your team use it. So you're welcome to steal that. That's called agile software development. And so that's how to get around this idea that your team and you have different ideas about what success looks like, okay? So that's that. A prototype is worth 1,000 meetings. The other thing, and the other reason why people resist change is because if I go to you and I say, hey, I'm going to take some of the parts of your job and build technology such that you will no longer have to do some of those things, that's how I achieve efficiency. But I only really achieve efficiency or a benefit if you can then raise your level of skill and do better stuff. Either do more of the core skill or evolve new core skills. So one reason why people fear change is because they fear being useless. So I'm thinking about, for example, one of the psychological barriers that I went through in hiring people is, well, if I hire somebody else to do some of the software development or the automation for me, I have to do other stuff. I have to learn to do other things. I have to learn how to do marketing and sales better. I have to learn new technologies that I can teach the team. So people fear being useless. This is a huge, huge, huge thing. By the way, the other benefit of doing sprints, so I'll just write down sprints /agile is the term to look up here. The other benefit of this is you implement this in a very, very slow way. You say, hey, I'm gonna make your job a little bit easier. And what you do here is you slowly teach people that when they have free brain space, for them, they will find new ways to apply it, right? So you want this change to be, this part to be gradual. And if you make it gradual with sprints, I guarantee every single time you're gonna have team members that are like, oh, I came up with 10 new ideas, or I learned this new thing, or I got better at this other skill. Like them, you have to consider that like this part is them learning how to do their job better and do other things. And that just takes some time for their own psychology to catch up. So if you want to do that, sprints and agile is how to do that part. And then the fifth thing is people fear the evil robots, right? So if you've ever been in a Tesla with the full self-driving, or like a Uber with Tesla, for example, on the screen, a Tesla self-driving car will show you the car that you're in, but it will also show you the other cars on the road. And it shows you that, I believe, because they want to show the user, yes, we know where the cars are, so that you're a little bit more willing to turn on the full self-driving. If they didn't show you where the other cars are, I don't actually think anybody would turn on the full self-driving, because there's a huge risk that the robot will mess up and make something bad. So one practical reason or way this can apply to a business is, let's say you build, like we would, and this is something we would never do, but like let's say your team says, hey, we want to automate this email to a customer. Or if one of our customers comes to us and says, hey, we want to automate an email to a customer, or we want to automatically calculate how much to invoice a customer and like actually send them the invoice or actually charge their card. We had a customer who actually 6 to 12 months ago came to us and said, I want you to make an automation that invoices our customers, charges their credit card based on calculations in the back end. And their team hadn't actually started using the back end system that we had, and they wanted us to implement the automation to charge the customer card. And we said, no. I told the team, like, we are not doing this because we need their team to actually make sure that they're using it first. So one of the things that we do, and you can steal this idea from Tesla, we would call this partial automation. So you can generate a draft of the email automatically and have a person just take it over the line. You can generate a draft invoice and have a person just check it first, right? Or like the one-click verification. Something like that can help people feel like, okay, this is safe. They can get in the habit of using it, right? They can slowly learn like this is okay. And so I would say partial automation is a great technique for the sort of evil robot syndrome. So I think that's it for change management. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. And that is it for today.